So welcome back. So in our Cypress with TypeScript series, today we are going to see how Cypress can identify the browser elements. So what is the Cypress locator strategy? How exactly Cypress locates the element? So the answer is Cypress by default looks into the CSS selector, and so anything that we want to perform any action or fetch details, we have to identify the elements by using the CSS selector. So in this particular session, I will be talking all the possible CSS selectors that we can use to identify the element and will help you to proceed further with the Cypress test automation. Okay. So for this, actually, I have this QAvalidation.com, this blog actually, where I have listed all the differences between XPath and CSS selector possible stuff actually. So if you find more and more actually, or you need more, please do comment or else send me an email so that we can get added to this particular repo. Okay, so today we are going to only discuss about the CSS selector, but if you are familiar with Selenium or any automation, any other automation tool which supports CSS selector and XPath both, even in that situation also you can refer to this documentation. Okay, so CSS selector. Now let's see how we can utilize. So to understand the CSS selector patterns, I'm going to use this particular demo application actually, which we will keep on seeing from different other automation tools as well. So if you go to this qabbox.github.io demo, if you go to this URL, you will get all sorts of HTML elements to identify or to perform certain operations or to even practice the test automation as well. Okay, so we will be using the sign up form where which is containing almost all possible HTML elements. The same thing if I move to this list items, so this is again very much benefit when you are practicing the CSS selector or XPath patterns. Okay, so let's move to the documentation, see and what and all possible options are there. So there are some pre-notations. So T is standing for the tag name or the element. A is the attribute in the DOM, like your name, class name, or your ID, okay, or any custom attribute strings. V is for value, like the value, like it is having some ID value, some name, all those things. Fine. Okay. So a very straightforward CSS selector is the syntax is a tag name, and then you have to give a square bracket and then the attribute name equal to the value. Like for an instance, if I'm going to this particular page and right clicking on this and inspect, and so for this entire throughout my session I will be using this selectors hub, and I would argue you guys as well to use the selectors hub. It will definitely give you a good and a quick approach to identify different elements. Okay, so the syntax says that any of the what do you call the tag name, let's say input, and then square bracket. Inside this I need to provide the what do you call the attribute, that is, let's say ID equal to some name. So here I'm giving ID equal to username. Okay, and you can see it is identifying the element. Here you can see input and then in square brackets ID equal to username. Now if I'm going here, you can see there are some other attributes are also present. It's not only ID. Let's say that ID is not present, you have only class, no problem. What you can do, you can instead of ID you can just write class, and here you can say enter text. Okay, it should be T, should be capital, and you can see it is matching this particular element. So it doesn't matter whether you have ID, class, or name, anything, you can use it inside the square bracket to make or to build the CSS selector. Now there is one quicker way for CSS selector is that let's say it is ID, right? So ID equal to, let's say that I don't want to go with this approach actually where like T and then A equal to value. No problem, actually CSS selector gives you a quick option. Here you can see the hash sign you can use if an element has a ID attribute as well. So for an example, so if I'm making it as a hash and then the ID is username, right? So I can use like this. You can see it is identifying, let's say some other IDs, and make sure that it is working. So here you can see input ID email, right? So I can say hash email, and you can see it is highlighting the email. So I mean, you don't want to write the complete CSS selector syntax, you can use this short format as has actually. The same thing, let's say that if you have only class name, no worries. What you can do, instead of class name, what you can do, put a dot and then you put the class name. So enter capital TEXT. You can see it is highlighting this particular element. So like this also you can use it. So that's what we have mentioned. If it is element is having only class, then you can use this as a dot actually. Like for an instance, you can even use with chain up commands. Like for an instance, I can do like this. I can identify like this, okay? Or else input, or you can say dot, and then you will say enter text. Okay, so parent child also you can do that. Oops, an extra. Yeah, you can see like this also you can use. Now what you can do, whatever you are writing here, the same thing I can take it here and in my cy.get. So here let me just comment out, and then here I can say cy.get. So inside this I can use this one, and then you perform whatever operation you want. Okay, so inside this you can write this one, and this should be single quote and this should be single quote. Okay, and I should be small. Fine, like this you can do that. So this always accepts your, this get always accepts your CSS selector. Fine, now let's see some more patterns. Okay, so here you can see there is even possible like with only tag names only. So let's say that you have your attribute, actually this is wrong here. This should be T of A. Let me show you that. So T is your element name and this is attribute. For an instance, let's say that input I'm putting, and then here let's say some attributes are there. For an instance, I'm giving ID. You can see it is giving like 10 different elements actually, because it is finding the input element wherever ID is present. ID is an attribute present actually. So if you see here, for some let me just go one by one. You can see it is not identifying this one actually. The reason is that here actually we don't have ID. Okay, so that is why it is not identifying. So now this will match any input element which has ID attribute present. Like for an instance, for this particular button actually I don't have ID attribute, that's why it is not selecting. You can see it is not selecting actually, it is skipped actually. So without any value you can put it. Okay, so that is one of the way. Here this at the rate should not be there. Fine. And like let's say parent child relationship, I will, for this let me just go over to this one, this list items. It will be easy for me to show you guys. So let me just go and mouse over this one. You can see it is an ID, right? So here I'm keeping, you can see whenever I mouse overing to this one, the CSS selector is kind of giving me a default selectors actually, or it is building for me actually. Now if I click on this one, it is here coming, and if I enter, it is searching for that item. Now here you can see, I will say like this. Okay, so here, okay, just a second. Now you can see it is, so this UI not P. So when I'm keeping this one, you can see it is going and identifying this entire list view actually, the parent list actually. Now when I'm going inside this, you will see some list items are present. The tag name is li, so I can say space and then I will put li. You can see it is identifying 5 elements actually, but here how much are you seeing? 1 2 3 4, but why, how it is showing as 5 element actually? So the reason is that so whenever I'm giving a space and then this li, what this CSS selector does, from starting from this parent, so this is my parent now. Okay, parent means this top actually, this ul. From here the upper list, it is identifying all of its child li, whether it is immediate child or inside this also there is a li. You can see there is an li. If you see here, there is no li, but if you go inside you can see there is another li. So that is the reason 1 2 3 4, and inside this there is another li also. So it is searching for the immediate child and also any following childs also. So child of child also, if the tag name is matching, then it is identifying. But if I make one character here greater than symbol, and then if I put enter, you can see it is only identifying the 4 only. The reason is that whenever I'm making this greater than symbol, what it is doing, it is only considering the immediate child. Now if you see from this particular ul, how many immediate childs are there? One, two, three, four. That is what it is giving you. So that is the difference between putting this, what do you call, greater than symbol and space. So whenever I'm giving space, it is considering all the child elements, whether it is the immediate child or child of child elements. So whenever you are using this particular icon or the greater than symbol, make sure that you are only requiring the immediate child members only. So that is very important actually. Like for an instance, let's say that I'm keeping like this, I'm copying this one, and then I will be using like this cy dot get, and I want to what do you call, get how many list items are present in this particular what do you call ul. The only, like I'm expecting 4, right? One, two, three, 4, the immediate child elements. Then I will be using like this, and then here I will say dot, and then I will say should, oops, sorry, should, and then inside this I will write like have dot, and here I will say length, and then here I will say comma 4. I will write like this. So this is to identify that from starting from this parent element, there are only 4 different LIs are present, and this is basically, I'm going for this link just for reference. I'm keeping this one, and so that you can refer whenever you're practicing yourself. Okay, you can do like this. But when I'm using this one actually, and I won't be keeping anything, and here I'm expecting 5. Don't worry about this should. We will be what do you call, learning actually this particular should command actually in more details, like how we can put different conditions. But at this moment, this is how you can assert number of elements actually. Okay, so this is one of the way you can identify the immediate child or the all the related child elements. Okay, fine. Now there is another way actually, you can even give multiple combinations of the syntaxes or the multiple patterns you can use it. For an instance, you can put the tag name and some attribute equal to some value, again another one you can put. So what this will do, the CSS selector, when both of these patterns are matching, then only it will identify the element actually, else it won't identify that and operator. So for an instance, let's try to recreate this scenario. So here for this, let me just try something. Okay, so let me go back to this one actually, my home page, and sign up, and then come back here, and then put this one, and here I'll say username. Okay, so this is actually coming directly, but let me use like this input. Okay, and here some attribute, let's say id equal to, and here I will say username. Okay, username, and then I will put another expression which is class equal to, and inside this I will say enter text. Okay, like this I'm putting, see it is identifying the element. It means that when both of this id and class name is matching, then only you identify that. For an instance, let's say that my class name is different, then it won't identify that, because both conditions, both syntax patterns should be matching actually. So but when I'm putting a comma here, you can see now it will match actually, because comma is treated as a or operator actually. So irrespective of whatever the second one or either one, if it is not matching, then also that is fine. But if I'm keeping both as incorrect, then it won't identify. Let's say that id is incorrect but class name is correct, then it will give me proper response actually. Just a second, you can see. So id I'm giving incorrect, class I'm giving correct, you can see it is identifying the element. So the same thing you can put it. So you can use this criteria I can give you one real time example where let's say that you have multiple buttons, but where actually where you want to find actually ID is username and maybe the color is red actually. So all that combination you can get it. So in that scenario actually you can fetch it by using multiple different expressions here. Fine. So and operator is basically you don't give anything, just two parameters or two syntax patterns. If you give in between them a comma, that will become a or parameter. So either one of these, if it is true, then it will identify the element. Fine. Okay. Now let's come to some methods actually. Some methods means some search mechanism in CSS selector. For an instance, let's say contains. So let's say that I want to get this username actually here. So what I can do here instead of this, and let's say that username 123 is there, and tomorrow it is changing to username 345. Again, on the next time when you are loading this URL, this username is coming as username 675. So as you can see here, the username is common actually, but the rest of the text is changing. So that time it is kind of handling dynamically. So there actually you can use this particular sign actually. So this is star pattern. So id and then star equal to, you can write here whatever text. Let's say that user n I'm writing, I'm not writing the complete username. You can see it is identifying that one. But if I'm keeping here like this one actually, you can see it won't come. So it will match actually this entire text actually, and then after that whatever it is there, it will go, it will search for that. So now you don't care about username 123, username 675, you don't care, it is matching. Let's say that there are certain IDs which are in bigger actually, so in that scenario you can use this contains. Contains means star actually, so keep that in mind. Fine. Starts with again the same thing. Let's say that I'm keeping here, this one is this operator actually, and then if I'm keeping, you can see it is coming. Okay, so starting is some, you can use some starting text. If I'm keeping this as name, it won't identify actually, because the this particular ID is not starting with name. But if I'm putting as a star here, star, it will identify because the name is matching with this ID. So that is the difference between star and your the upper symbol actually, the to the power symbol actually, this one. So to the power symbol is always treated as starts with actually, and then contains any text in between that ID, class name, whatever it, and then it is not limited to ID actually, you can even use class name, you can use some custom, like for an instance for is there, right? So you can even use for actually here, and then you can search. Now for is name, right? Starts with, so for an instance, let's say that it is for, and then I'm keeping, just a second. Oh, okay, it is label, sorry, it is label attribute, sorry, label tag name, and then yeah, you can see here, even let's say that I can use the to the power as well, and then even I can go with the star as well. Okay, so everything is matching in this. Okay, fine then. So starts with the same thing I have ends with, and here you will be using the dollar sign. For an instance, let's say that the class name is enter text, right? So I can use like this class equal to, and then here dollar I'm using, let's say dollar, and then here I will say single quotes text, and then let's see if it is identifying or not. So it is not identifying. Why? Because it is input again. So I'm using the label, it should be input tag, it should match exactly. See, it's this text box is input tag, right? Class is enter text, but I'm using text only, so it is ending with. How we were using this starts with, this is end with actually. So these are very much helpful when you are dealing with some elements, those are very much dynamic in nature. So there are some particular text is only matching, so that time you can use these things. And then we have already seen the hash sign and dot sign, and here like another one actually here where we will be going with the multiple elements. Let's say that if you are dealing with some kind of a table actually, at that time you can use this one. So just a second, let me go navigate to a table. and almost all of the XPath and CSS selector patterns, whatever you can do, you can utilize this demo site and you can navigate to each one of these what do you call controls, and you can practice anything that you want. Okay, so for table, actually, let's say I think most of our recent applications, whatever it is there, day in day out, we see actually tables, right? So how do we handle these tables easier way? So one thing is that if I say table, definitely I can identify because there is only one table is present. So here, let me show you few of other things actually. So let's see that. So table, I can even utilize this one because this is one of the ID. Let me show you that. So sorry. So let me go to the body, and inside this, and then if I go here, you can see table actually. So I can use a table or table 01. So table is basically, only table is my tag name, so even only with the table also I can use it, or I can use the hash table 01, that is my ID. So both ways I can use it. Now here, if you see, let's say that I want to go with the second row and second column actually. So what I can do here, so table 1, you can see there is a TR. Because see, I'm going to take the rows only, right? Rows means that is TR. We already know that one. Now, if I'm putting here, you can see it is identifying four different rows. You can see four different rows. One, two, three, four. Four different rows are there. Let's say that I want to go with the second row actually. So what I can do, nth hyphen child. This is one of the method in CSS selector, and I will put like this. So here you can see it is matching actually the one, actually both are matching. The reason is that I'm taking the T head and T body. You can see here, see T head and T body is there. Let's say that I want to go to the T body, so you can do a parent child actually here. I already shown this one to you guys. Now you can see it is only identifying the first element, first row, that is this row. If you want to go to the second row, no worries, you can put like this. Third row, you can go to the third row. Let's say that after this, actually you want to go to the second column. Column means what? It is actually TD, right? So here I can put TD colon nth child, that is my method, and then spelling should be child, and here I'm making 2. You can see it is going to the, so third column and second row, so directly I can identify like this. Fine. So these are the different ways you can utilize by with respect to your what do you call table actually. For an instance, one use case I'm telling, let's say that you want to delete, click on the delete button actually. Fair enough, 1 2 3 4 5. So what you can do here, you can put 5, and then you can identify this one and directly you can click. So you can say cy dot get and all of this, and then dot click, so it will click on the delete button. Even what you can do, this tr of child, see, you might ask me that how do you know that? I mean, delete button is fixed on the fifth column, but which row, how do you do that? Let's say that some scenario is coming, wherever it is matching selenium, click on the delete button. Now I don't know if the selenium text is coming on the second row or third row actually. So what you can do, you can put this I actually here, you can put a for loop. We will see while handling the web table in Cypress actually, where we will make this particular index as I actually, which we will be iterating, and then based on wherever it is matching that particular loop, it will click on the fifth column, that is nothing but delete button. So this is one of the real time use case of handling tables. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Then next, let's see that. So here another thing it is telling that. So we were looking into this table, right? I mean the tag names. Where, let me again go back to this one, and then go back to this one. So table concept is done. Let me show you again, reiterate that one, whatever we were doing, so that I can get you another one. So here, see, this is my group, right? This is this entire one, and then if I'm going inside, let's say that I'm going inside, I shown you this one where it is li is there, but let's say that I want to go with the same siblings. For an instance, let's say that uh, I want to go with the P actually. See, this is inside actually. If I'm keeping this one, this is my parent, this is my child actually. But what if I want to identify this paragraph actually here? Now, if you see, if I inspect this paragraph, there is no CSS selector here, because if I put P, it is giving me seven different elements matching actually. One, two, three, four, five, six. Then how do I identify this? Let's say that my requirement is to find it out how many paragraphs are there after this particular element. This particular element means this one actually. After this, how many paragraphs are there? How do I know actually that one? So for this, we are using in XPath as following sibling, right? The same concept actually we will be using in CSS selector as a plus sign actually. So I will show you that plus P actually. You can see it is matching. So what it is doing, it is sibling actually. Plus means sibling. Now what is sibling? Sibling means when the elements are on the same level actually. Now you can see this UL and this P is not a parent child, but they are siblings on the same level on the HTML they are there. So that is why these siblings are used by plus symbol. But here I have told you guys that I want to identify all paragraphs present next to this one, right? But here I'm getting only one only. So because I'm using plus. So what this plus does, this will identify the immediate sibling actually. What is immediate sibling to this particular UL? That is the first paragraph, right? So this is what. So whenever I take this one, cy dot get this one dot text, I will be getting paragraph 1 actually. But let's say I want to get all the combinations, I mean all possible paragraphs are present after this. So what I can do, it means that all the matching siblings, what I can do, I can use tilt sign actually and then enter. You can see it is identifying all possible paragraphs after this particular sibling actually. So this is my first sibling. Now after that, if I'm putting tilt and P, it is giving me everything. Let's say I'm putting an input tag actually, it won't give me because there is no input tag actually after this. Okay, the input tag is before to this, and unfortunately there is no preceding sibling in case of your what do you call CSS selector. And the reason behind that, they are saying that always we look for the down onwards actually. We do because parent, and so always we should try. And if for some reason, let's say that if you don't have that, make sure that you talk to your developer and you add the IDs actually. That is one of the easiest way to do that. Okay, so this is how actually you can identify the following sibling by finding the immediate sibling, a sibling, and all possible sibling match actually there. Okay, so that is how you can do, and all the explanations I have put here actually, you can just go through that and you can get to know more details about that. So hope this session will be helpful and you might learn the all possible CSS selector, how we can build it. Now in our upcoming sessions, we will be using this CSS selector patterns to handle different browser elements. So stay tuned and do subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.